The Rohingya people, a predominantly Muslim minority, have inhabited the region now known as Myanmar for centuries. Their roots trace back to the ancient kingdoms of Arakan, absorbing influences from Arab traders and other settlers. This rich tapestry of history and culture forged a distinct identity for the Rohingya, intricately woven into the fabric of Rakhine state. Their language, a unique dialect with ties to Bengali, further solidified their cultural presence in the region. For generations, the Rohingya lived alongside other ethnic groups, contributing to the cultural mosaic of Myanmar. Their ancient mosques and vibrant traditions stand testament to their deep-seated history in the region. Their narrative, however, took a tragic turn in the 20th century, setting the stage for one of the most harrowing humanitarian crises of our time. The world watched in horror as this peaceful community faced escalating persecution, ultimately leading to their mass displacement and suffering. The year 1948 marked a pivotal moment for the Rohingya, as Burma, now Myanmar, gained independence from British rule. In the nascent years of the newly formed nation, the Rohingya enjoyed a period of relative peace and recognition. They held identification cards, exercising their rights as citizens and participating in the political sphere. However, this harmony proved to be short-lived. The military coup of 1962 cast a long shadow over the Rohingya, marking the beginning of their systematic marginalization. The military junta, driven by a nationalist agenda, sought to homogenize the country's identity. This vision, however, excluded the Rohingya. The 1974 constitution omitted them from the list of recognized ethnic groups, effectively rendering them stateless. The 1982 citizenship law further cemented their plight, stripping them of their citizenship and denying them basic rights. This legislation, widely condemned as discriminatory, became a cornerstone of the Rohingya crisis. The Rohingya, now stripped of their citizenship and facing increasing discrimination, became vulnerable targets of violence and persecution. The late 20th century witnessed waves of Rohingya fleeing their homes in search of safety and refuge. In 1978, an estimated 200,000 Rohingya crossed the border into Bangladesh to escape a brutal military campaign. The 1990s saw another exodus, as tens of thousands more were driven out by violence and persecution. The year 2017 marked a horrific escalation of the crisis. Following attacks by the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army, the Myanmar military unleashed a brutal crackdown on the Rohingya community. Villages were razed to the ground, homes were looted and burned. Men, women, and children were subjected to unspeakable atrocities, including murder, rape, and torture. The United Nations condemned the violence as a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. The international community, aghast at the scale of the Rohingya crisis, responded with condemnation and calls for accountability. The United Nations Human Rights Council established an independent fact-finding mission to investigate the allegations of human rights abuses. The International Criminal Court opened a preliminary examination into the situation, while the International Court of Justice ordered Myanmar to take measures to protect the Rohingya from further harm. Despite these efforts, justice remains elusive for the Rohingya. Myanmar, now under military rule once more, continues to deny any wrongdoing. The international community must maintain pressure on Myanmar to address the root causes of the crisis and bring the perpetrators of these heinous crimes to justice. The Rohingya, a people who have endured unimaginable suffering, deserve nothing less than a future free from fear and persecution.